There are two types of people in the world. There they are. Morning people and night owls. How many night owls in the room? Tonight, not so much. 11 o'clock curfew, okay? Miss Warner is not a morning person, but Hannah's a morning person. Every morning, for 4 years I had her in her room, and every morning, not a day went by without a "Good morning, Miss Warner." Every morning. Hannah came to the North Hartford FFA Magnet program as a student her freshman year, and she was accepted into that program for the animal science strand. And as a freshman, she came to us to start a new endeavor. She didn't have the agricultural background that most ag students had, but that didn't stop her. 4 years later, she left us with an extensive background in animal science, a truly kind heart, a passion for agriculture, and as a leader. Her senior capstone project tells you a lot about her character. She worked with the Agala model and the horses on our campus farm and helped middle school students with self-esteem issues. She had a wonderful capstone project. Not a day went by that she was a state officer, if you met her, that you didn't understand her passion for agriculture, her enthusiasm, her truly kind heart, and her drive. If you've been around her, I hope you've experienced some of those qualities in her this past year. One morning, her senior year, she came to me, "Good morning, Miss Warner." And it was followed by a question, "Miss Warner, will you sign my state degree application and my state officer application?" This was my first state degree application to sign and my first state officer degree application. I can by all means say she is one of North Hartford's truly finest, and I'm so proud of her. She's one of our shining stars. Hannah Schantz.
Hey guys. I'm going to stick to my script. I can describe Hannah as many things. She's a leader, she's an animal lover, she's a comedian, she's a friend. But most of all, she is my sister. Despite having known Hannah my whole life, she has not known me all of hers. And even though I can remember almost nothing from before I was 6, I can tell from pictures and videos that Hannah tolerated things many 2.5-year-olds would not. My sister has always been a big part of my life, whether it be playing Dance Dance Revolution together, paying for my food, or punching me in the face. We've always had a close connection. I've watched my sister grow from an awkward, weird, peace sign throwing middle schooler into the strong, confident, and beautiful woman she is today. I knew she was passionate about the FFA and agriculture in general, but my taunting and teasing did not impede her progress. I've watched her change lives, cross oceans, and turn her dreams into a reality. She may not know it, but she's one of my greatest role models, and I love her very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the 2014-2015 Maryland State FFA Sentinel Hannah Schantz for her retiring address titled "Finding Your Path."
Let's take a moment to go back. Go back to a time quite a few years ago before we had Siri and GPSs telling us the quickest and easiest way to get from point A to point B. Although most of us probably weren't driving much more than our big wheels way back then, some of us might still remember what it was like. When I think of this time, I flash back to the back seat of my dad's amazing, one-of-a-kind race car. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. I am talking about a state-of-the-art 1995 Ford Aspire. As my brother and I were growing up, we realized that this car had all of the essentials for an uncomfortable ride. including, but not limited to, a very small back seat, no back doors, and the smallest windows you have ever seen. Now, although my family had a nice, big, spacious station wagon at the time, my dad's tiny little race car was, for some odd reason, always our choice vehicle on long car rides. One time in particular, I remember feeling like I was going to be stuck in that car for 12 years of my life. We were on our way to some amazing hiking trails about an hour from my house. Now, driving through rural Wisconsin has its perks as well as its downsides, as I found out that day. The perks would be that as you're driving, there's nothing but trees, cornfields, and a few old dairy farms for as far as you can see, meaning that my family and I were able to use this time to get away from our crazy, ever-growing lifestyle that we have become accustomed to in our hometown. Now the downsides. As you're driving through rural Wisconsin, there is nothing but trees, cornfields, and a few old dairy farms for as far as you can see, making getting a bit turned around on the way to where you're going almost inevitable, and making finding your way back to the right path quite a large challenge. On the day that I thought I was never going to get out of my dad's car, I can remember being pulled over on the side of the road, my brother and I getting quite impatient in the back seat, and my parents, both, staring at the huge, old, crumpled up map of Wisconsin that they kept in the glove box. As they stared at this map, they were eventually able to figure out exactly where we were and what we needed to do in order to get to where we were going. Before long, we arrived at the trails, and my brother and I eagerly jumped out of the car to stretch our legs and enjoy the great outdoor of Wisconsin. But when it came time to get back into the car, we were less than enthusiastic. To our surprise, however, the trip home flew by. My dad now knew the exact path and road he needed to take in order to get to where he was going. Although us kids got a little impatient and my dad got very lost that day, he was able to find his path. In life, we all have times where we're not exactly sure where we're going. We probably don't have as much as a problem getting from point A to point B, thanks to modern technology, but I think it's safe to say that we've all been a little confused. This year, while traveling around Maryland to all of our amazing chapters, I brought with me my question ball. Now, on this ball, I had lots of fun questions, and I used it as an icebreaker to get to know a little bit about you and your names. But there was one question on this ball that made the game turn a bit more serious. What would you like to do when you grow up? Now, when we're younger, this question is fun because we get to yell out things like doctor or astronaut without a second thought. But as we get older, we realize, or at least I did, that as soon as you answer this question, it seems like there's always someone there telling you exactly what school you should go to, the major you should study, and what you need to do in order to achieve that goal. Generally, these people mean no harm, and they're just looking out for the best of what you want to do. But sometimes they can seem a bit too pushy. They might be parents, older siblings, college recruiters, or maybe your dear Aunt Janice, and they generally start out a conversation with, well, you know what you ought to do is, I like to call these people our backseat drivers. Now, how many of us have either been in a car with or driven with someone who was a backseat driver? Maybe we are one ourselves. Backseat drivers have no problem telling the driver when they need to speed up or slow down, when there's another driver in their blind spot, and when they need to turn. Now, these backseat drivers can claim that they are just looking out for the best of everyone in the vehicle. Most of the time, they're just looking out for a way to ensure that you are driving the vehicle in the exact manner that they would be if they were driving. As annoying as this may be in a car, it generally won't have any long-term effects. But what happens if we apply the same logic to our lives? If we allow someone else to be the backseat driver in our life, are we following our own path, or are we following the path that they want us to take? Now, when we're finding our path, it is important to have a support system, which is different than our backseat drivers. A support system listens to your goals and helps you find a career path that is best for you. Austin Shipley of the Manchester Valley FFA chapter is a prime example of what it looks like to find your path with some help from some guides. As Austin was growing up, he realized that his love for agriculture extended on past what other kids did. Because as they were overplaying with their toy cars, Austin was playing with his toy tractors. As Austin went through elementary school and middle school, he realized that he knew a lot more about agriculture than everyone else did, and he wanted to find a way to change that. When Austin entered high school, he enrolled in Miss Warner's agricultural classes, where she encouraged him to join FFA and compete in CDEs. Together, they discussed goals that would be fit for him and realized that he would love to be an agricultural educator. Austin is currently a senior in high school. He's held a chapter office for 3 years, competes in multiple CDEs, and is looking forward to attending college next year to get a degree in agricultural education. We all have what it takes to find our paths. Whether you're like my dad and you have to get lost quite a few times before you figure out where you're going, or you're like Austin and you know your passions, you're just not sure what to do with them, we all have what it takes. Maryland FFA, I challenge you to ignore the backseat drivers, not be afraid to get lost, explore opportunities, listen to your guides, and find your path.